All right, to start off tonight, I want you to take a look at some of these labels that I found on the internet.
Please be safe. Do not stand, sit, climb, or lean on fences. If you fall, animals could eat you, and that might make them sick. Thank you. These t-shirts were tested on animals. They didn't fit. Corn right? Corn at. Corn light. First corn I see tonight. Warning. Unattended children will be captured and used for medical experiments. Slow. Free-range children. Eat Jessica's family.
You know, what's crazy about labels like that is like, you have to think someone had to actually do those things for those labels to exist, right? That's wild to me. But labels are everywhere, aren't they? Like, beware of dog signs. Like, there's like a label there. Like, I'm not gonna jump that fence, okay? Or you have like maybe those signs or labels that say, enter at your own risk. You have the government putting labels on our food to help us understand and make choices about our food decisions. Labels, I think, are meant to be helpful. They can give us perspective. A label is designed to help us make sense of what we don't fully know. Like when we read a label for how to wash our clothes. Like, have you ever seen those labels? Those icons make no sense. And obviously, the only thing that you really need to know about clothes is you just throw them all together in the washer and hope for the best. What are the labels that we most often see? Nutrition labels, brand labels. Provide a sense of trust, don't they? Like maybe you're a fan of Nike or Under Armour, Disney. Maybe you're a brand like lover that like you have someone you watch on YouTube, like Mr. Beast or someone like in a Minecraft world. You buy their hats, you buy their merch. It kind of like is a symbol of community for you, right? You feel like you're committed to that community as well. The same way labels exist to help us see and make sense of the world, to warn us about what's ahead, to help us recognize something familiar and connect with a group of people. As a society, we put labels on a lot of other stuff, especially on something as difficult to understand as people. It's kind of like we're trying to use a screwdriver to hammer a nail. I mean, you can still try, it works kinda, but it's not really gonna work. But we, I think, have bought into the tool. And this is what I want to discuss for a couple weeks, because there are tons of people in our lives and we hold lots of relationships. We have relationships with our families, and boy, aren't families complicated. But there are labels that our culture has placed on family and how to make sense of it. But what happens when those labels are broken? What happens when a mom and dad divorce, or a loved one dies, or we just don't have a great mom or dad in the house? How do you respond to a parent who is disciplining you when culture tells you that you shouldn't be disciplined? It can leave us feeling very confused or uncertain about how to deal with our family. Or what about ourselves? Man, do you ever like place a lot of pressure on yourself like I do? Society has endless labels on who we are, what we should be, what we should believe. I'll even label stuff about myself that no one thinks except for myself. And we in society put these labels on ourselves of what it means to be a man, or what it means to be a woman, or what it means to be a student, or what does it mean to be a teenager, an artist, or an athlete. All these labels that we have for ourselves to define us. But when the labels don't match the experience, then we're confused about what it is our true identity looks like. And if I can be a little more transparent, society has a lot to say about Jesus. There are lots of labels thrown towards God and Christianity and Jesus, and much of it right now, quite negative. So you find yourself in a church, maybe with mixed reviews about who Jesus is. Maybe your labels on God and Jesus are, hypocritical, exclusive, judgmental, closed-minded. And yet you're here. And this series is meant for us to take a step back and to see the world from the lens of God's labels for these relationships. And trust me, there's so much to be said, because here is a huge truth for you to wrap your head around at first glance. If God truly created all things, which means you, which means me, then God's labels are actually the only labels that carry true weight. Labels tend to come from the Creator. They understand the intention of the thing they're trying to do. And there's a lot to be said about these conversations. And my hope for you is that you will allow these words over these next few weeks to help you discern your own labels that you have tattered all over your life in your relationships, and line them up side by side, compare with what God has to say. And my hope is that you will see that God has a certain set of labels that matters much more than we originally thought. And maybe that we're going to care about a lot more than we thought. So to begin tonight, I want to talk about our relationships with our friends. If you're anything like me, we have friends in different parts of our lives that actually hold different labels for us. I remember growing up, I had my church friends, I had my neighborhood friends, I had my friends from all my classes. I remember being a part of a German club, and there were 6 of us who went all the way through German 4 with Frau Gwen. She was amazing, and we were all tight. But that friend group had a bunch of different labels on it than others, because what I saw my friends do, and what I saw culture do, and what I still see culture do, is that there are 3 kind of areas. There might be more, but I've identified 3. There are 3 sort of labels that culture puts on friendships. And the first one is our friendships tend to be curated. This means that friends only exist around the stuff that we like. And so those friendships get labeled as my sports friends, or my German friends, or my volleyball friends, or my drama friends, or my insert hobby friends, my gaming friends, my online friends. All those things exist around a curated thing that we all like to do. We see in culture another label that's called convenient. If your friend isn't giving you what you need, or if they're taking too much from you and it's no longer convenient for you to be with them, then you can just write them off. You can just ghost them. It's no big deal. We have to maintain our mental health, right? So we have to invest our time in the ways that matter. Those friends are now fake friends. They no longer need you. They are not convenient anymore. Or I see that friendships are cordial. This is kind of an older word. I wanted to do another C, so bear with me. Cordial, all the old farts in the room are going to understand what this word is. Cordial means polite. You want a friend who's polite. And I'll come back to that in a moment. See, because the tension here is when you look at convenient and curated and cordial, at the outset, those labels sound great. A person who likes what we like, makes me feel good about myself, is friendly, gives me what I want. Chase, what are you talking about? That sounds great. Trust me. And as I wrote this, I kept coming back, am I really saying this? Is this really what I'm going to say? And truly, the reality is, the cordial and convenient and curated friends are not necessarily going to be your closest friends. You're going to have friends, but who's going to know you, right? Who is going to know who you are, for real? Who knows the dirty laundry you have? Who do you talk to on your DMs and your Snapchats? Who are the people who know your core, at your core humor, or your at your core fear or struggle, the things you wrestle with? Who really knows you? It's good to have fun. It's good to laugh. It's necessary to have inside jokes with people. It's nice to play video games with people online, but who truly knows you? Who are you going to when life hits you hard? Who's going to stick with you when you mess up? Or what happens when you become that inconvenient friend and you're dismissed? Who's going to show you the love that you need when you are acting your worst? How many of you have felt alone or abandoned or sad or angry because when you were in a tough spot, no friend showed up for you? I've been there. I think ultimately what is lacking in friendships today is this ability to be absolutely, completely, wholeheartedly vulnerable with another person. We don't want people to see the worst sides of us because we can't handle rejection. And I'm wondering today if any of you feel that way, where you're wanting to find good, meaningful friendships, ones that stick, that last, that know the real you and still choose you, over top of all the convenient friends or the cordial or the curated. And when I think about that, I think about Jesus. I think about the love of Jesus. I think about the community that Jesus commissioned on this earth when he left, because that way of living, that Jesus way of living, has some very important labels that I want to give to you today, that you can start to stick everywhere you have friendships and start to see, like, does this line up with this person? Can I trust this person to be this for me? And so instead of curated friends, I want you to consider friends who are committed to the purposes of God. Committed to the purposes of God. When we talk about a friend who's committed to the purposes of God, that means that we're talking about a friend who's committed to the purpose of us too. Because all of us share in that purpose. God created us to be rulers on this earth, and we are to build each other up. We are to hold on, to reach out. We are to do right in this world together. Friends, this is mountain walk stuff. This is love God, love people, serve the world stuff. Who in your life is walking the mountain walk with you? And when you're able to have friends who are committed to that purpose and who aren't just going to be committed to the purpose of the Houston Texans or to photography or to whatever interest you have, it's a great, just delimiting factor. It kind of makes us all become one, because in Galatians chapter 3, it says that there is neither Jew nor Greek, there's slave nor free, there's male nor female. We are all one in Christ Jesus. Jesus is the thing that aligns our friendships, because Jesus is the thing that matters most. And when we have a diverse group of interests, but united under Jesus, man, we have so much in common. It's like curated on steroids, if you will. But the purpose of Jesus is the highlight. Next, instead of convenient friendships, consider finding friendships that are committed to unconditional love. I think about unconditional love, I think of my friend Marcus. Marcus was a guy that I went to college with, and he was just, by the time we were in our sophomore year, this kid was just an outcast. He just did some stuff that was strange and a little creepy. It made people uncomfortable. And you can imagine in a small community, when someone's doing that, he kind of gets pushed to the outside. After my junior year, going into my senior year, I wanted to move back into a different set of dorms because I was hoping to have a room to myself, which sounded wonderful. Senior year, to have a room to myself. It sounds amazing. But I got an email from the housing director that said, "Cool, thank you for your application. Your roommate is going to be Marcus." And I was like, wait, I don't want to be a roommate of Marcus. This guy's so weird. I don't like him. He's always been kind of strange. He's creepy, like he's the outcast, and all these labels are put on Marcus, right? And so it is what it is. I can do nothing about it. And so we start our senior year together, and I'll tell you what the Lord did in a matter of days changed the trajectory of our friendship, where really it's not only Marcus needed me to show him unconditional love, I needed him, because his faith and what he had done during our junior year was truly a flip-flop of his personality. He decided to make some steps and to right some wrongs and to love the Lord, and he needed to experience unconditional love from me to get back status onto our campus. When I think about unconditional love, I think about someone who is just so far removed that everyone has written them off. And so when they have that label, we bounce. They're no longer convenient. But when we commit to unconditional love for people, we say this. We say that love is patient. We say love is kind. We say it isn't jealous. We say love doesn't brag. We say that love is not arrogant. We say that love isn't rude, and it doesn't seek its own advantage. We say that it's not irritable. It does not keep a record of wrongs. Love isn't happy with injustice, but is happy with the truth. Love puts up with all things, trusts all things, hopes for all things, endures all things. I want that. I want friends who do that for me. I think that we all want people to love us no matter what. We need friends who are committed to unconditional love. And lastly, instead of having cordial friends, consider finding folks who want to be a champion of your life. I love that word champion. Just, when I think about champion, I think about just celebrating. I think like a cheerleader. Like I'm just gonna be the biggest cheerleader of you. One of my favorite passages in scripture is found in Romans 12. And Paul's writing, he says this, outdo one another in showing honor. Rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. But live in harmony with one another and don't be haughty, but instead associate with the lowly. Like everyone wants to be loved with that kind of focused attention. But I love that phrase, outdo one another in showing honor. Now, when your friends are getting accolades, we're gonna show humility and we're gonna show up and celebrate. And when your friends are down in the dumps, we're gonna show up and cry with them or weep with them or stay with them. Because when life hurts, we want people to show up for us. Friendships in this depth can be hard to make, but it truly happens when we love the Lord and seek the friendships that He's calling us to. We're not created to be alone or to be left abandoned. God created us for community. And so the labels that we put on our friendships, sure, we can have some of those folks who are on the surface. We need those things. Not everyone's our best friend, but who in your life is gonna know you? They're probably gonna be marked by those labels. I wanna read that Romans 12 passage in full as a way of wrapping up this conversation, because I think that this charge that Paul writes truly has a way of making this thing stick. So listen to this. He says, don't just pretend to love others. Really love them. Hate what is wrong. Hold tightly to what is good. Love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. Rejoice in your confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. When God's people are in need, be ready to help. Always be eager to practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you. Don't curse them. Pray that God will bless them and be happy with those who are happy and weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people. And don't think you know it all. Never pay back evil for evil, but do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable. Do all that you can to live with peace with everyone, dear friends. Never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God, for the scriptures say, vengeance is mine. I will pay them back, the Lord says. Instead, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals of shame on their heads, and don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. I pray meaningful friendships for you. Friendships that aren't just convenient or curated or cordial. I pray you have friendships that are committed, that champion you, and are committed to unconditional love. Go ahead and head to your groups.